The 3 times my ex-wife tried to take my daughter away from me and move to another state. So, at the end of part 2. Just 1 week later, I get served papers to appear in court again. She now has a new plan to get the judge to allow her to move 300 plus miles away and take our daughter with her. My lawyer calls her lawyer and he finds out that she is now married to the boyfriend. And she thinks that this is going to change the judge's decision this time. She is still living in our home state, however, and her new husband is living 300 plus miles away. My lawyer tells me that is not the law, as mentioned in our prior court appearance. And it isn't likely the judge is going to change his decision. But the judge may now consider their combined incomes, as well as their housing, to be an upward benefit to her moving away with our daughter, so the judge may decide in her favor this time. My lawyer also tells me that it will be another $10,000 for him to represent me again in court. Unfortunately, after already paying $20,000 for his legal representation the previous 2 times I was broke. Don't get me wrong, his services were worth every penny. I just didn't have anywhere close to another $10,000. My lawyer tells me that even if I win this time, my ex-wife is probably not going to give up. And she will keep dragging me to court until I am broke and I give up. I tell him that I am already broke, so he comes up with a suggestion. My lawyer suggests that we make her an offer. And maybe I want to consider moving the 300 plus miles away so that I can keep my 50-50 parenting plan in place. He says that she is so desperate to move that she will probably accept just about anything if I agree to let her move to the other state and she can move with our daughter. So, after discussing it with him, this is the proposal we come up with to offer her. If I allow her to move and take our daughter, I get every other weekend with my daughter, every holiday, and summer with our daughter. She puts our daughter on her health insurance. She will meet me halfway to exchange our daughter both ways for my parenting time. If I am able to move to be near my daughter's school district at some point in time, I get to have an exact 50-50th parenting plan. 1 week with me, and 1 week with her, alternating weekly. If at some point in time I am able to move to this other state, because of the expense I have to deal with for moving, as well as my need to uproot my business, relocate it, and start over from scratch, I will no longer be required to pay her child support. This sounds good to me. I have my lawyer draw up the proposal and give it to her lawyer. Within 24 hours she agrees, signs the agreement, and my lawyer submits it to the court. The agreement is approved by the court. She has no idea that I intend to get moved to the new state as soon as possible. You see, what she knows at the time is that I run a business in the state I currently live in. And I have a lot of local customers that I depend on to earn my living. I don't think that it even crosses her mind that I would even be able to move anytime soon. What she doesn't know is that a couple of months prior I had hurt my back rather badly. I was not able to provide services to my current customers, and I had to slowly cut back on providing the services to them as our contracts came to an end. I had also stopped taking on new clients until I could get surgery on my back. It was a good time to move in regards to my business. What she also didn't know was that to make up for the loss of income from my back troubles, I had started an online business that was growing, and with this income one was going to eventually be able to move sooner rather than later. Over the next 3 months I started to plan for my move to the new state. I also had back surgery, had a ruptured disc removed, and I was able to get around fine once again. Through this 3 months we did the whole meet halfway every other weekend thing so I could spend time with my daughter, as agreed. During this 3 months my online business really started to take off. I was making more money than with my previous business, and I would soon be able to relocate and continue the online business. So, with the money that I was making I rented a house near my daughter's school, and I commuted back and forth the 300 plus miles every other week. I now had my daughter 50/50ths and I no longer had to pay child support. My online business was growing, and I took the next 3 months to wrap up my life in the current state that I was living in, lease expiring where I was renting, etc. Then I made the move permanently, leaving the previous state behind. I was now living full-time in the new state, running my growing online business from home, and having my daughter 50% of the time. But this story gets better. About a month after I was living in the new state full time, I got a phone call from my daughter on an evening that she was staying with her mother. My daughter was in tears, told me she couldn't stand living with her mother, said that she was standing outside down the road a bit from her mother's house, and asked me to come get her. So, I jumped in the car, picked up my daughter, and brought her back to my place. From then on, until just before my daughter's high school graduation, when she made up with her mother, I had my daughter 100% of the time. Through that whole time we never heard from her, and she never bothered me again. I was a full-time dad, and my life revolved around taking care of my daughter. It was awesome. But it gets even better. I left out a part back when I was still living in the previous state, just after I had my back surgery. One day I was shopping at the local mall, and I ran into my lawyer. As we made small talk for a bit, he says to me, "I want to tell you a story about that second time we had to go to court. But you have to promise to never tell anyone," and I agreed. He proceeds to tell me the following story. He tells me that the other day at the courthouse he ran into the lawyer she had first, when we were going to court the second time. The one that bailed out on her the day before we were supposed to be in court. My lawyer asked him, "How's your dad doing?" And my lawyer said that at first he had a confused look on his face, like he had no idea what my lawyer was referring to. This other lawyer then realized why my lawyer asked him this, and he proceeded to tell my lawyer that his dad was fine, and was actually never sick. He then told my lawyer that he just made that up because he no longer wanted to represent my ex-wife. Because she was an evil bitch, and he couldn't stand her. He figured that the court would buy his reason for bailing out on her at the last minute, and it worked. Well, that's the whole story. I hope you have enjoyed reading it. If you have made it this far, I thank you for reading, and I appreciate the opportunity to finally share this story with others.